Dave, are we on? There we go. All right, welcome everyone to today's Fireside Chat. My name's Ryan Boswell. I'm the Senior Director of Growth here at Silicon Slopes. I work on business development and run our marketing. Super excited for today's Fireside Chat. This is going to be awesome. We've got two incredible, seasoned and awesome entrepreneurs and founders here for today's conversation. We've got the CEO of Bohme, Vivien Bohme, and the CEO of Freshly Picked, Susan Petersen. Today's conversation is going to be moderated by the COO of Particle, Dave Smiley, and we're super excited. Just a couple notes. We are broadcasting live on YouTube, so if you need to get up for any reason, go out and around rather than right up here. This is the camera that's going to be broadcasting right here, so everyone can smile and wave if they want to. But again, just want to thank you all for coming out tonight. If you haven't been here, hang out afterwards. We've got refreshments over here. Thank you, Particle, for providing those. And this conversation is going to be awesome. So I'll invite Vivien, Susan, and Dave up to the stage.
Yeah, who wants to be closer to me? This is about as fancy as I get. I actually have a printer. Okay, so I just have a few questions. The way I want to structure this, I have a few questions that we've kind of talked about beforehand, talk about a few of them, and then actually want to jump and give a lot of the time to like Q&A with the audience and let them kind of spray for a few minutes, and then we'll kind of go from there. The first question I want to talk about is, so both brands are native to Utah. What types of strategies did you use to expand outside of the state, and then how do you maintain that outside presence? Viv, do you want to start?
Yeah, because we are wildly different. Because you're both a retailer and a wholesaler, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're very different. So early on, when I opened Bohme, day one, I thought we're going to be a chain. We're not going to be one store. And so as soon as we figured out, within 2 years, I started seeing, I started seeing a correlation between Bohme and Buckle. Forgive me, Buckle was the thing back in 2010. And so Bohme followed the Buckle. So we went wherever there was a number one Buckle, Bohme would be there, which is why we have stores in South Dakota, in Iowa, so like these random spots, because the Buckle's strong there. Malls were not getting the flashiest of the names. And so Bohme would come in, annihilate. We'd be number one sales per square feet. Actually, I have my old South Dakota manager here, right? We would be number one sales per square feet in the women's because there's nothing like it. There's something about Utah that we're picture perfect in everything, and that's kind of unique when you go to out of state. So what I can sell out of state is not what we can sell in Utah. Utah is very homogenous. So, for example, Cafe Rio kills it here. You go outside, like, Cafe who? Why would you go there? And so, and thanks to the church's influence, the word spreads like wildfire. And we all love the same thing, and we all like this. So it's a blessing to start in Utah because you grow fast. It's a curse because what works here, we have found not to work outside. And so our arguments inside Bohme is, okay, that's going to sell in Utah, nowhere else. Okay, but that's going to sell outside, but the Utah peeps are going to hate us for it. Okay, but we've got to, so it's, right? It's one of the biggest arguments in the office that we've had for at least 12 years. Probably didn't think of that. Knee lengths, I can sell it here in Utah, nowhere else. Yeah. So I don't think I've mastered it, but brick and mortar has worked, thankfully for us. My online is hit and miss because of, again, they come in and they see very conservative clothing, but if we don't, Utah peeps, my base, gets pissed. So we're still working it out. I don't think we have the answers. She might have better ones.
So we focused on community, and where Freshly Picked really wins is we sit with new moms. And so I was, when I first started Freshly Picked, I was trying to figure out like where are new moms hanging out. And I had been at my friend's house, and she was like breastfeeding her baby and then like looking at Instagram like that. And that was like 2012. And Instagram was the only social media platform that lent itself to a one-finger scroll. And I was like, oh, moms are going to be on Instagram because they need their other hand to do something else. And so we just really focused on building a community on Instagram focused on new moms. And we do, up until, I don't know, 2015, we were strictly e-commerce. And really just tried to work with influencers and celebrities that were brand new moms. And then, so I would say Utah is number 3 for us. California, New York is number 1. And then Florida, Texas, Tennessee. Yeah.
Wow, that's super interesting. I just want to kind of follow up question with building that community on Instagram, or building a community in general. Like, what were the building blocks for both Freshly Picked and Bohme of like starting, scaling, growing, maintaining? Like, how did that work for you?
Specifically? Yeah. So for Freshly Picked, it's easy because when you become a new mom, I don't know if there's any new moms, you really crave, it's a very isolating feeling, and you crave community. And because of social media now, there's a way to kind of build an online community. And so we look at community as number 1, what can we provide for these people that will help? It's like, what can they get for free from us? And so there's some brand affinity there because of it. I think good brand is empathy, and great product is community, is how I kind of look at it.
Cool. Viv?
Oh, I feel embarrassed having this. So I'm actually anti-community. And you'll never hear this from anywhere else. So I look at Zara. That's, who we aim. Zara is this incredible machine. Who's the founder? It's an old man by the name of Armancio Ortega. Nobody knows. What's their community? Do they pay for marketing? No. Why? They've already got the basics right. Good product at the right price at the right time. Over and 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 over since about 1970. So that's what I aim, because Glossier had a community. They're down. Toms, I'm gonna be a social change thing. Nobody's wearing Toms. It's a thing. And so when I view community, if you're a mastermind like her and you can do it, go for it. I'm antisocial. I'm not on Instagram. My employees will tell you, I am not a social person. Bohme pays the price for me not being a social person. I think social media absolutely works. I'm just not very good at it. I just think get the basics down right over and over. The people will keep talking about it. They'll sneeze your product. I don't know. So I'm not very good at that.
Both are valid.
And that's what I was going to say is like, it's kind of like there's so many ways to do this. And it's so cool to see that you both have accomplished as much as you've had in coming at this, approaching a very similar problem in 2 completely distinct ways, and how you both have built a brand. And I would say you even have built a community.
I'm terrible at accessing it. We know if they're angry. I don't know when they're happy, but I'm not very good at it.
Negative feedback is always positive engagement.
I suppose.
Yeah, and that's really interesting. Kind of leads me into my next question. So, like, what are some like the bigger challenges, or even the biggest challenge that you've seen, like starting an online store or going into retail, and like what were like the biggest keys in like overcoming it and getting past those?
Like, I'll never start a brand again. It's so hard.
The right answer is tech.
Yeah.
If you come out of here and you learn anything, the right answer is tech. Do not do consumer goods.
You guys,
you don't know what you're doing to
something around AI. Like, whatever you do not do shoes.
Oh.
They're heavy. Sizing sucks. Fashion is so fickle. They cost so much to store, so much to ship. Don't do diaper bags. Like, my friends who do like socks, they could air freight all of their product over during the pandemic, and it cost me $20 a bag to air freight. I can only fit 2,000 bags in a container. They could fit a million socks in a container. Don't do big stuff. It's stupid.
No, she's
And don't do size runs of anything. It's dumb. Don't
Sell
go into
tires.
clothes. Yes.
Couple of sizes,
Coffee.
predictable,
Yeah.
black. Black. Okay, I know you guys are laughing. We
do
mean
it.
business. We mean business. I will tell you the issue. You want to know? I'm not talking about the issues. I'm just going to tell you what 2023 looks like for a retailer in women's goods. You ready? You have a bunch of 21, 22-year-olds who think they're all that in TikTok, doing nothing but black. Oh, it's neutrals. Oh my gosh. So now they're showing very basic things that you can buy on Amazon. I'm not needed. There is no fashion, by the way. So you have all these armies of 20-something-year-olds who think they're so cool, wearing super basic stuff. It's a uniform. They don't know it. They think they're happening. Well, you don't need Bowman Express and Buckle. You also don't need Everlane and Aritzia. You don't need any of that. All you need is Amazon for that. I know that we're in 1998, 1999, 2000. We're going to snap out of it. But this is a painful year because I had store closures and COVID. BLM was not a fun thing either. Great. Then people decide to buy. But China's shut down. China goes in and out. China's trying to clean up their things, so they're shutting off factories. There is not enough factories in China to keep up with the demand.
And then the ports are all closed.
Oh my gosh.
And it used to cost like $7,000 to get a container across the ocean. Now it costs $24,000.
Yep.
For one container. It's just, don't do it.
So there's
Do
supply
AI.
chain issues, right? So 2021, people decide to buy. So guess what Bohm did? I love my employees. Look, we've like doubled and tripled in a year. Let's pay employees more. Let's do this, let's do that. Great. Come 2022. Facebook doesn't work anymore. Google is slow to give it the program. Oh my gosh, now we have to deal with TikTok that has no attribution. This is the wild, wild west. You can't make pretty things. Now you need to make somewhat ugly things just to go on TikTok. Okay, so now you have your YouTube channel. Now you have your Instagram channel. Now you have your TikTok channel. Now you have this. And then you have the 40-year-old doesn't wear what the 22-year-old wears. See the problem? Now we're heading into 2023. It's hell. Don't do consumer goods. Don't do products. So the biggest problem has been the peaks and the valleys that have happened over the last 2-3 years. And the costs, because everyone thinks Facebook privacy was a great thing. No, I pass those costs on to you guys. Because marketing still has to go on whether you guys like it or not. So all these things, Trump stuck it to China. Nope, we just passed on those costs to you guys. So something that I would have sold at 58 a year or 2 or 3 ago, I now have to sell at 74. So Bohm's prices have gone up. So now consumers are like, you guys are expensive. No, every vendor's gone up. Everything's gone up. So I think these are some of the most challenging times in the last 15 years that I've seen. I was happy, but I didn't know it back then. So I think dealing with social media, paid ad, right?
I love social media. I think it's super interesting. I think it's really cool.
I just don't think it works like it used to.
It does. Did you see what happened to Boston clogs, Birkenstocks clogs last fall? They sold out of 6 months of product in 1 week. It does work. You just have to, it's different is what it is, yeah.
It works. Not as cheaply, not as good as it used to.
It's different, yeah.
Yeah. So it's just a little rougher. Gone are the days where you can just open up a brand, put some money into Instagram, I think those days are gone.
And so yeah, let's kind of, I want to dive into this. So like, how has it changed? Like, what was it, 2012, like 10 years ago? What was Facebook? What was social?
Well, I think it's, the pendulum will always swing back and forth where it's the same, honestly, as like the housing market. It's either buyer's market or seller's market. And for social media, it's either a brand's market or it's an influencer's market. And we're coming out of an influencer market right now where like Kraft mac and cheese and Walmart gets stupid and they're like, we'll pay you $25,000 for one post. And then as like a small brand like Freshly Picked, we're like, yeah, we don't pay for posts, and influencers are like, okay, well, this money's never going to dry up, and it does, because look at all these layoffs. After the sales department goes the marketing department, and prior to the marketing department going, guess what? Kraft Mac and Cheese is not paying for posts anymore. And so right now it's a really interesting and cool time, I think, is because we're coming back into a brands market for influencing. And Freshly Picked also sits at a unique place where our customer is always young. So I always have to find, like, who are the new moms. And Utah is this incredible place for influencers. I don't know, I think there's a factory in Draper that literally, like, incubates, and 12 new ones pop out every week with blonde hair and Stanleys.
I told you, we're homogenous.
But they're incredible, and the way that they can move product and build community is really interesting. And so we've always focused on relationships. I've never paid for a post. My influencers eat what they kill. But I always come in at a relationship level first, and then they don't seem to complain about it.
My mind wanders, so you're gonna have to
So how has social changed in the last 10 years?
So Bohme does pay for posts. So what we've noticed, though, is all of a sudden we'll see 30 sell of a thing. We'll go, who did that? Oh, we didn't even pay Susie Q to do it. So we started feeling really stupid that we paid for people, because those influencers who you think are big and you want, they no longer work. They're done. And they all have these conferences where they're telling influencers to charge more and so on. I keep telling my employees, it's done. And TikTok is so blatantly obvious when they're like showing it off, like that they're getting paid, and that the consumers it's no longer 2012. They're no longer tricked. So the free ones, the ones that just do it because they like Bohme, then we go, hey, we like you. We'll give you free stuff. We'll keep doing this. Seem to work way better. Going back to social media, Instagram, I don't think, is growing anymore. I think that's kind of done. I'm seeing, or are you seeing it?
I disagree.
I see. Different experience. So I'm like learning here too. I'm just seeing TikTok dominate completely.
I think TikTok is number one. You know, social media is like sex. It's like cool until you know your parents are doing it. And so all the young kids are like off of Instagram because their parents are there. That's why we all migrated off Facebook, right? It's because you're seeing your mom share stuff and you're like, ew. So I think kids too are moving off of Instagram. But it just depends, like whoever your buyer is, that's where you have to hang out. And young kids that are dominating TikTok, they don't have money. They're not buying stuff. There's a virality there that is really cool, but like our moms that are spending like double income, having babies, they're still really heavy on Instagram.
And kind of want to keep going. Start with Susan on this one because I'm curious. How is your cycle of like customers? Because like you have new moms that they have a kid, they buy the bag, and then are they repeat purchasers on the second or third kid, or is it mostly like one and done, and then you got to go find the new wave? So like I guess like how is it keeping up and identifying your target customer, and how is that adapting every year?
Yeah, so we're proudly premium. We're expensive, and so most of our customers sit in like a higher. They make more money, but we look at our LTV. We hope that our lifetime value can be somewhere around $300 over a year and a half is what we aim. And if we can get a second or a third kid, we're really happy about that. But mostly we're constantly finding like new customers. It's just like it's like the bridal industry essentially. Don't go into baby. You're going to have a baby, especially you dads. You're going to have this really hard problem you want to solve, like, how do I keep the baby still while I'm changing their diaper? And then you're going to make this thing, and then you're going to lose interest. Don't do it. I'm telling you right now, it's stupid. Don't do it. Baby is a hard industry. You always have to be mining for new customers. And people aren't having kids anymore. They want dogs. Go into the dog industry.
Viv, what about you? Do you feel like your customers are constantly evolving, or are you growing with them? Do you feel like you are?
Both.
Okay.
I have customers that have been shopping with me since my very first store in Fashion Place for 15 years. And I have a brand new one that stumbled upon it. I have people that have graduated out of Bohme. I have people graduating into Bohme. There's a lot. There's a lot because we're in so many different life moments, if you will. She might buy her first pair of denim at junior high, then she's wearing Bohme for prom, then she's wearing Bohme for her honeymoon, she's wearing us for baby showers, we just go. The challenge is, so Bohme tries to be multi-generational. We're always pissing somebody off. The 40-year-old's like, I can't wear these crop tops. The young girl's like, this is like for my mom. So I'm never pleasing. And then it's like, pick a lane. I'm like, which one? In which year? There's not a right answer. And so this year, I think the last 2 months, I said, you know what? I told this exactly to my employees. You're going to dress Viv. Dress who I am. I'm not going to be ashamed of who I am. So I'm from Rio, Brazil, which means that I have a completely different perspective of everything. What an American thinks at school is not what the rest of the world thinks at school. So that has made Bohme challenging, because I also have to think, do I like that because I'm Brazilian? Do I like that because I think I can make money out of it? So it's been tough. That's a question we constantly grapple with at Bohme, and every retailer does. I can talk about Gap, I can talk about J. Crew, I can talk about all those big retailers that went up and down. It's because their customer graduated, right? It aged out. Their buyers ages. I'm today 40. When I started, I was 26. The perspective has changed. The lifestyle has changed. So I try to have buyers in their 20s. I have some in their 30s. I have my daughter right there. She's graduating high school. I constantly pick her brain, and I'm like, okay, when you go to the U, you're going to be working at Bohme as a buyer, right? Because I need someone that's that young. So I try to have that to help us out, but it's very challenging.
Okay, good. So we have, like 10 or 15 minutes left. I kind of want to turn it over to the audience, see if there's any audience any questions from the audience. So I'm going to come out with the mic.
Hi. Can you comment on how you make trade-offs between selling on marketplaces, Amazon or others, versus your own branded site, and where you think things will be headed?
What was the last part of that?
Where you think trends will be headed in terms of customers? Are you putting more emphasis on your branded site versus a marketplace?
Do you sell on Amazon? No. So we try to keep our split at least 70-30. Simply because I want to own the customer. It's so much cheaper to own the customer than to try to market on Amazon as well. I don't know where the trend is. Like a couple of years ago, Amazon represented 56% of all searches on the web, and I know that's gone down quite a bit. So I don't know. I think people are back on to really liking to shop from a brand page, but I don't know. I prefer to own the customer, but I really, really like the FBA program through Amazon.
So we tried Amazon. We did not do it well. And my product is so in flux, and it's seasonal, and so it's very challenging. Amazon has at least, I don't know how, it was the gnarliest spreadsheet I've ever seen in my life. At least 300 questions. Have you ever seen the?
I think
maybe it's just different for yours. Right, it was, okay, if I were going to market this jacket, this measurement from here and here's a question, this is another, this is another, this is another. Everything had to be detailed, and the buttons, and where was, like, I thought my employees were exaggerating until I saw the that spreadsheet, and I said, yeah, no. This isn't going to work for Bohme. It's going to take a week per product for us to answer all these questions all the time, every time we have a new hit. Bohme does 50 to 100 products new every week. So Amazon just doesn't quite make sense. Let me tell you something that I always say at Silicon Slopes. I know that all the news say strip malls are dying, malls are dying. I'm having the best years ever in stores. Stores are still a thing. And they will continue to be a thing. If you're gonna open up, should you be in a C center and a B center? No, you have to be much more selective. You need to go after the A centers. But people, because they work from home, they're going to the malls more than ever. But they're going there for a purpose. They're not, oh, let's just spend a Saturday afternoon and see what hits. That's not what's happening. The people in there mean to buy something. So if people are willing to go to the stores and buy it there more than ever, you can imagine what's happening also between Amazon and branded pages. Oh, were we thorough?
Hi, I'm Denise Smith, and I wondered if either of you have thought about social selling, and it's using AI, so an automated invoicing, as well as like live social selling as a platform.
No. Do you?
No, because it doesn't plug and play very well with everything else. And when you have live selling, now you're going off of personality. Right? I have a friend that does it. She does well. But I also have a neighbor. This is my neighbor, warehouse neighbor. And she's thinking of doing bankruptcy. Because she's saying Instagram, like the live selling on Instagram that she used to do, is no longer working for her. So iffy. I think you have to have the right personality, but it's very hard to scale.
I think it's super interesting, and I think if you have something that people want and you hit the right market, it's really, really cool. We look more at like the total customer experience across our product, the website. Plus, I'm old and tired, and I don't want to get online and sell stuff like that.
Susan, you mentioned that social media is different now. I just want to pick your brain on that. And then maybe follow up with your influencers. Do you cycle through them, or you try to keep them, and how do you keep them?
Do you have a specific question about how social media is different?
Well, you had mentioned the Boston clogs. So maybe the way social media is working is different. I don't know if people are still scrolling, clicking on ads and buying. Or are you using influencers on social media to maybe drive them to the store? I'm not sure.
So both. We do both. We do ads and influencers. I think that I love the shopping experience on Instagram now. I think it's very targeted. It's super cool to be thinking of something and then to get an ad for it like the next second. Like, oh, I didn't even talk about that. That's really cool. And so I really appreciate the algorithm that Facebook has and Google has is honest. I think where you go wrong is you go in and you try to tweak it and you don't just let it do its job, because it is so robust and so good. I think if you're buying ads, though, something to really consider is, am I buying ads for new customers or returning customers? And at Freshly Picked, we're always trying to buy ads for new customers. I just bought this bag, not a Freshly Picked bag, but a bag from a company called Shinola Leather. It's out of Detroit. I'd been looking at this bag forever. When I was in New York, I'd gone into the store in Soho. It's like an $800 purchase. So it had been like a couple weeks of me being on their website. I didn't get served an ad from them until after I purchased, which as a consumer is just so bad. And so that's stuff that you need to like pay attention to. So we look at ads as first-time purchasers. We look at influencers as totally top of the funnel. So influencers are just like a megaphone for us. Like, let's make sure that Freshly Picked is top of mind. The code the influencers get is also for first-time purchase. So if they're like, oh, you get 20% off, use my code, it's only for first-time customers. We don't pay them for returning customers. But I think there's a virality because of the algorithms on social media now that I am always checking against the Google Trends, because I'm like, oh my gosh, everyone is talking about Justin, Haley, and Selena. Is this real? Then I go to Google Trends, no searches. So like just making sure that I'm not thinking things are happening that aren't actually happening, because the way that you niche down so quickly, just by simply watching something, it's tracking you, and then you'll get shown more of that and more of that. And then pretty soon you're like, oh, this must be what everyone's talking about, everyone's thinking about. And so I'm constantly, if I'm suggesting something, I'm making sure that I'm cross-checking it against, like, what are people actually searching, and making sure it's lining up with what I'm seeing on social media. Another thing was last year during the Target earnings call, they were saying like, oh, we can't sell everything that we were able to sell during the pandemic. We can't move trampolines if our life depended on it. We can't sell bikes, and they couldn't keep those in stock a year previously. But the one category that is growing is luggage. And it's been a flat category for us for the last like 15 years, and all of a sudden it's grown like thousands of percentages. So I was listening to that, and then I was like, all right, let's go ahead and really quickly pivot a bunch of ads for diaper bags into luggage and see if they have any ROI. So just like paying attention to what like shopping habits are. And so it was same ad, same asset, just changing the copy to say, hey, this is your new this is your new travel bag for baby, and getting like a return on that as well.
Let me add to that. So I sat with Google, head of Google something, I don't know. And I said, oh my gosh, Google's got the monopoly in search. And he's like, Viv, you'd think, right? I'm like, yeah, what? You guys have a huge moat. It's like, you don't understand. TikTok's not the number 2 for search. So while Selena was not hot on Google, this little trio was hot and trending on TikTok. So you might want to consider that also as trending search, very relative. And I find myself, also trust yourself. I am going now to TikTok to search more than Google. Why? Because TikTok is so new that all my searches are very relevant now. It's not like Pinterest, like, ugh, that's country bumpkin, totally 2013. It's very relevant, and it's quick. My tutorial's 2 minutes. It's not YouTube, oh, hi, loves. So consider TikTok too, and it depends on your product. So her products is way evergreen. Mine, in and out, in and out, in and out. So the algorithm works fantastically. It takes time. So if your product's a lot faster, know that your top of funnel is going to be a lot more, and you may have to retarget some more. This conversation, retargeting the first, it will consume your life if you're in this business. I don't know. Yeah.
You had mentioned that what you could sell for, 50 something, you now have to charge for 70. How do you have like an algorithm formula of what your profit margin is? And do you find yourself now cutting product because there is no profit? Be like, we have to charge that much, but no one will buy it.
Yes.
So we got to cut it.
Much more.
What's your like formula of determining something?
Oh, I was young and stupid before. I would shoot for 63, 64%. Now I am you. Initial markup better be 70. Better be 70 or else, because I joke around. I feel like I've subsidized Utah's clothing for 15 years. I undercharged. So now we're charging what we should have all this time. So you want to shoot IMU 70. I don't know where she's at.
Yeah, you want it to be what's called keystone at least, meaning that it's around 70, 75. If you go to wholesale, you're looking at them taking 50% of it. And so you want it to be about 75 or 25% COGS, however you want to look at it. Yeah.
time for one more question.
Or read that thorough.
Can you both talk about some of the key sort of pivot points as you were in e-commerce in terms of the growing pains when you had to make like a real shift in terms of how you approached online from a technology, from a staffing perspective, just kind of where you've sort of things broke and you had to change, if there was one?
I feel like every other month. So my problem is I have stores. So I have inventories there, I have inventories in a warehouse. I have seller reports there, I have seller reports in a warehouse. I have a different customer in every state, and then I have the Utah. There's the Utah customer, there's the out-of-state customer, and then there's the web customer. That's 3 different people. And then I already talked about the complexities of the ages and the this and the that, right? And so pivot point is when I stopped listening to everyone else, when I went into the dumbest, easiest platform, Shopify, when I started to spend real money. If you talk to a CFO, they think marketing spend is stupid. If you talk to any CFOs, if you talk to any investors, they'll say, oh gosh, you're spending like 10%, what the heck? You talk to an entrepreneur, they're like 30, 20, 25, you know. It's always playing. But again, for me, because of inventory and everything, the peaks and valleys have been so wild. I have to go with my gut. One thing, though, again, depends on your product. I have tried so many apps. I have tried so many services. I've tried all these companies say, oh, yeah, so-and-so, Herschel Bags saw a 20% increase. They don't work. So I've already saved you the thousands of dollars. Don't. Just don't touch it. They're great at collecting. They're great at signing the contract. They're horrible at giving customer service. They're horrible at maintaining it. And so be very vigilant to your numbers. Be very vigilant. I use these guys, Particle, to benchmark because I'm a benchmarking fiend. And sometimes I think it's just happening to us. And then I look, oh, this is a climate, this is a market headwind issue. Another place just for pivoting and stuff. This is wild, but Bohme follows the consumer price index and consumer sentiment. Last May was probably the worst May I've ever had. And I go, that's weird. What the heck happened? Oh, that's when inflation hit. Everlane went down. So like all these bigger names went down with it. It's an unlikely source, but it's a place for you to see so that when you're testing your strategies in your market, you know, it's another place to look.
I think I've seen this a ton when you're starting an e-commerce brand, where actually like the first million's pretty easy to get to. I think almost anyone can get to $1 million. I think then there's some benchmarks around like 3.5, 5, 10. And what happens once you hit $1 million is I've seen so many women that I know that you actually have to spend about $1 million to get to $3 million. And so you're feeling like, oh, I'm doing something wrong because I'm running out of cash. But what you're doing is you're building systems, people, and processes for the $3 to $5 million business that you need to be into. And so right now, like, make sure that you're holding on to cash, but also don't be afraid to spend to get to like that next threshold. Shopify is amazing. We love Shopify. We love Klaviyo. As far as like an email system goes, they have a really good SMS part that now goes along with those. And then Gorgeous is, I think, the best customer service, kind of pulls all 3 of those in. And if you have a Shopify store, make sure you have Shop Pay on it. I am shopping in bed at night, and I'm not getting out of bed to get my credit cards. So if you don't have Shop Pay, I will abandon a cart. And I think a lot of people feel that way. But just if you're feeling like you're doing it wrong or you're running into challenges, I promise you that there is so many people that are probably, like Vivien said, experiencing the exact same thing as you. And I always make sure that I have 2 or 3 people who are at the exact same stage as business that I am, so I can pick up the phone and be like, hey, February was soft. Oh yeah, February was soft. So then you're understanding like what's happening overall. My investors are actually really good where they'll preemptively be like, everyone's experiencing this right now. Make sure you guys are, like last year, you're across the board, everyone raised their prices at least 10 to 11%. Just making sure that you're building out your network so that you can feel like you're not alone. Because sometimes you do feel like I'm ruining everything and I'm gonna burn this thing down, but you're not. It's just like how it's going right now. You
Or
know?
you take it out on employees, like, yeah, there's something wrong. And it's like, oh, wait, that was the market thing. Never mind. All the software that she mentioned, Bohme also uses.
All right, well, let's give a round of applause for Vivien, Susan, and Smiley. Thank you. Just want to take a moment, one, to thank these 2 incredible founders. At Silicon Slopes, our grassroots and foundation is built on tech, but we really are nothing without direct-to-consumer brands and companies that are building off of technology. So this deserves to be celebrated. We're grateful for phenomenal founders. Grateful for the Particle team for helping us put this event on today, and very grateful to Vivien and to Susan for helping us out. So one more round of applause. Feel free to visit, hang out. We got pinball, pool, snacks, whatever you want, but thanks for coming out tonight.